Hello, and welcome back to Invitation to Puzzles, where today we have an Aqre by Takmu53. So I'm looking forward to this. So Aqre is I think, very cool genre that was, I think, invented by Eric Fox, actually, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know. The lore of all of these things, I don't know. I think about half of pencil puzzle genres were invented by Eric Fox, and the other half were invented by Nicoli, is roughly my understanding. I'm going to go over the rules, and I'm going to actually read them from the script just to make sure I do not. Oh, the rules, in fact, actually say, as part of the rules, this genre was invented by Eric Fox. There we go. Okay, so we must shade some cells on the board. So we are doing a shading and unshading kind of genre. Numbered regions must contain the indicated amount of shaded cells, so just like Hayawake and that piece, and there may not be a horizontal or vertical run of 4 or more consecutive shaded or unshaded cells. Okay, so at least in every run of 4 cells, there has to be an unshaded and a shaded cell. There have to be both. Also, all shaded cells form an orthogonally contiguous area. Okay, so not unshaded, shaded. Just the shadeds have to. Okay, so very kindly, we have been provided here by Takmu with a 6. And the 6 is very nice because there are 6 cells in it, and I need to shade 6 of them so I know which 6 it is. Okay. And now we get our first application of the Aqre rule, which is that these 2 cells must be unshaded because this would be a run of 4 shaded cells if I did not. I cannot have a run of 4 shaded cells. And so each of those, give me that. And now, as an immediate reward, hey, these are all shaded because now I need to shade 4 cells in this bunch of cells, and 2 of them are unshaded, so I got to shade all the rest. Okay. I think that's a little bit of a red herring, though, because I think the place we're actually supposed to look is this 6. Okay, and so the thing about the 6 reminds me of Survivor. If you saw the season of Survivor with the 6, you know. You can comment in the comments if you're a fellow puzzle and Survivor fan. But the thing about the 6 is it has to connect to its shaded cell friends. And, well, it can only do that if you look at the board through the 1. But most of the ways of doing that don't work because there's only 1 shaded cell in this entire thing. So, for example, if I shade this cell, well, then these are all unshaded. And whoops, I did not actually connect the 6 to the rest of the board, and my life is over. It's even worse, actually, if I shade, say, this cell, or any cell in the bottom row, because then that's the only unshaded cell, and now my black doesn't even get out of the box with the 6. So I definitely have to shade something in this row, not that row. And even if it's this, that doesn't work, because that immediately does that, and I'm still cut off. Basically, the way I sort of see it is the only way I can possibly get out is through here. And so those 2 have to be shaded. These are all unshaded. But there's more. I now have 3 unshadeds in a row. So this has to be shaded. Otherwise, I run into this same problem of having 4 unshadeds in a row. Not allowed to do that. That's against the rules. Okay, but by the power of counting, I have now gotten 2 shaded cells in my region. So these are all unshaded. And I can mark that off. Okay. The next thing I see is weird, and I'm not sure if it's the thing I'm supposed to see. Oh, well. Okay, scratch that. Here's an easier thing, and I'll do the stranger thing in a second. This black blob still has to connect to something. So the something it connects to must be here, because if I cut that off, the blob is done. But now these 3 in a row black cells mean that has to be unshaded. And therefore, we can fill in all of our shaded cells like that. Okay, this was in fact considerably easier than the thing I was about to say. This 3 in a row black cell now actually tells me that these two are unshaded, because I can't have 4 in a row, and that fills in this whole blob over here. Okay. And we actually get to repeat the thing from the intro here, which is that I need to connect this blob of 5 black cells to the world, and it can only connect through a 1. And so the only way it can work is to do that. Same deduction as before. And now that one, sorry. Now I have 3 greens in a row. Sorry, my brain noticed that and then shut down completely before telling me why it said that. This 3 greens in a row tells me that has to be shaded. Okay. Now, turn your head 90 degrees and do the thing about this region has to connect through a 1 game again. This 4 now has to connect to the rest of the grid, and it can't go north. So by virtue of being in the corner, it must go east. And if it connects through that cell, it's toast, because again, that does not work. So the only cell that can be the one shaded cell in the 1 region is that one. And so that cell must be shaded, or I haven't actually made it into the 4 region. And I've got this 3 in a row green here. That's helpful. So that's going to give me a shaded there and a shaded there. I know one of these two at least has to be unshaded. So I guess I know one of these two is shaded, and I know one of these two is shaded, because if I unshade both of these or unshade both of these, then I run into the problem that I have 4 unshadeds in a row, which is against the rules. So I have 1 shaded in each column. So that either looks like that or like that, because they have to connect, right? I can't do zigzag. Then I won't be connected, and that will ruin everything we've been working towards this whole time, Margaret. So then we just have to ask ourselves, okay, which of those is broken and why? And the answer is this one is broken because it puts 4 shaded cells in a row. So it's that one instead, which unshades those. Okay. So what do I do with my life now? I feel like now I might supposed to be making an argument up here that I hesitated to make before. But we'll make it. So the argument I was going to make concerns this 4. And note the 4 shaded means there's also 2 unshaded. Well, I know one of these 2 is unshaded, because if they were both shaded, that would be 4 shaded in a row. And I know one of these 2 is unshaded, because if they weren't, that'd be 4 shadeds in a row. But that's 2 unshadeds in the box. One of them is here, one of them is here, so neither of them is there. And so therefore both of these are shaded. And the reason why I saw that as interesting is this 5 now has only 1 unshaded, and we know it must be in one of these 2 cells, because if it was not in either of these 2 cells, that would be 4 shadeds in a row. And so the unshaded's over here, and so now all of these are shaded. So now, so I know the shadeds here are kitty corner to each other. Because I can't put 2 shadeds next to each other horizontally or vertically in this box. So there's 2 more shadeds and they're kitty corner to each other. And I think this one disconnects. Yeah, that one disconnects everything if you look at it. The kitty corner shadeds, that leaves this 4 completely alone. The shadeds aren't connected. So I must kitty corner the opposite way. Like that. And end up there. By the way, please tell me this is not 7 size. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Okay, good. I was afraid that this had been sitting here the whole time. Oh, it couldn't possibly be that in size because that would be way more than 4 in a row. I can't do that for sure. Okay. So that was all fun. Doesn't strictly seem to have helped. Let's see. Let's see. I see it's a little messy. I see that if this is green, I can't connect this blob anymore. I'm looking to see if I see something else. So I bet there's an elegant way to express this. I've done some number of Aqre puzzles, and I admit usually when I do them, I end up saying complicated stuff about connectedness in my head that doesn't really use human words. So I'm going to attempt to convince you that the thing I'm about to argue is sensible. If you think about how exactly this sort of moon-shaped piece is going to connect to the rest of the world, and so the problem is a lot of the ways of connecting would involve putting 4 shaded cells in a row. And so my claim is it just breaks if I try and unshade this cell. I've put this in trial mode so that it's marked that this is the thing I'm saying doesn't work. So what happens if this is unshaded is that it forces this black to connect under it. But now I have a problem, which is that this black has to keep connecting, and it can't keep connecting there because it would create 4 in a row, and it can't keep connecting there because it would connect 4 in a row. And so I claim my brain can see that and it feels intuitive, but I don't have good words. If someone has good words for what I just argued, I'd love to hear them in the comments. Or if you see a different thing that I could have done to avoid arguing that. But basically, if this is unshaded, it disconnects the moon. And so it's shaded. Okay, but then that makes this unshaded. And this unshaded. And now this whole piece is now disconnected except through this passageway, which must now connect. And this vertical slice here, if this is green, that's 4 greens in a row. I can't do that. Okay, but this black piece again must connect out for sure. So we have some more black pieces marching over here. It's possible I should have just maximized the amount of shaded cells there were in the 7, but I don't think that's quite going to work. It's possible. This is now unshaded because of the 3 shadeds in a row. And so now, again, the moon plus region needs to connect, and it can only do it through this slot, which creates the problem that I need to make this unshaded to avoid having, in fact, 5 shadeds in a row. But now that's the lone unshaded this box gets. So all of these are shaded. And now I've got 3 in a row here that make that unshaded. Now, where am I squeezing? So I get 3 total unshadeds in this 7. And maybe I should try and peg down more specifically where they are. Because I see one of them is here. And what I also see for sure is I know one of these 2 is unshaded. Because one of these 2 is shaded, and whichever one it is, it creates 3 shadeds in a row, so then it needs to have an unshaded after it. In fact, does it just insta-break if I shade this cell? I think if I shade this cell, it just pretty much instantly breaks. Let me show you. If I shade this cell, I think this was probably available much sooner, and it's probably easier than the thing I just did. Then notice now that cell's unshaded and that cell's unshaded, and that's just broken immediately by this cell unshaded by the 5 and this cell unshaded by the 4 in a row rule. That just breaks my ability to connect over through here. So we're going to say that we're not going to do the thing that instantly breaks the puzzle, and so instead we have to shade that one, which means that's unshaded. And now we've got whatever mess is happening over at the top, this whole blob. It needs to connect. It can't connect out through the 7, so it's got to connect through there, which means it has to keep connecting through there in order to have a say or have a chance at keeping the world together. Okay, and I only get one more unshaded in this entire puzzle. Or sorry, not in this entire puzzle, in this entire 7. Okay. That unshaded is certainly somewhere in these cells, because if it's not, that's like 14 shaded cells in a row. It's not quite that many, but it is way too many shaded cells in a row. So that means the unshaded is down here, so that means these are shaded. Okay. I think even if this is the unshaded, it doesn't work, because if this is the unshaded, then I'd get all of these being shaded. That's too many. And likewise here, if this is the unshaded, I would get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That still doesn't work, so that's shaded. This one needs to connect, so I don't even have to think about what would happen. I can't make both of these shaded now, because if I make both of these shaded, that's 4 in a row, so that means that one's shaded. As I continue my eternal march of progress towards this area up here. Okay. So now it's this one that has to be shaded. And so one way to say, I know one of these two is unshaded. One way to say that in your head is this blob doesn't connect through these two cells because one of them's unshaded. And so that means where does it connect through? Well, this blob's got to connect through something. It's got to connect through that cell because it can't connect over here. And so this has got to be shaded as well, because if this is unshaded, then it doesn't matter which of these two is unshaded. I've disconnected the whole blob. In fact, maybe that was the easier way to see it. Maybe this is easier to see. I don't know. Take your pick. If this is unshaded, I can unshade neither of these without disconnecting it because it forces the blob down like that. And now I've created 14 in a row. So take your pick how that works. Anyway, so that needs to be shaded. One of these is still unshaded. And so whichever of these is unshaded, again, I can't connect through there, so that means that's always shaded, which then comes back and tells me that that's unshaded to avoid creating too many in a row. And now we must be very careful. And I think the thing that we can't do, actually... Oh, maybe we can. Sorry, maybe the thing I was about to say was wrong. Okay, where's my... I know... Oh, it's just a question. Here we go. This is much easier. How does this giant blob over here that has the former moon, how does that connect? It has to connect through here, which means one of these two is shaded and one of them is unshaded. But this one being shaded doesn't seem to work. Is the problem. This is, again, something where I feel like there's probably a better combination of words to communicate the connectedness thingamajig that I'm trying to communicate. But basically, the thing I see, I think, is that if this cell is shaded, now that's unshaded. Oh, never mind. Sorry, that's not the one. The thing I see, sorry, I saw it in my head the right way, but then I forgot, is that if this is shaded, it unshades both of these. Yeah, I guess that's the easiest way to say it, is if this is shaded, it unshades both of these, and now this lower piece is disconnected. So the lower piece, I guess a different way to say it is this lower piece connects through either here or here. So one of those two cells is shaded, and both of those cells have the property that if they're shaded, this needs to be unshaded to avoid 4 in the row. One horizontally, one vertically. So this is always unshaded, which means that this is shaded to make this connection. Now, in order to connect, I still need to make that shaded, which then means that's my last unshaded cell. Very nice puzzle there. Much appreciated by, sorry, I had to check again, by Takmu. So thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you enjoyed the puzzle as much as I did. And we'll be back soon with more puzzle action. So look forward to that. Again, if you enjoy what you see, if you're having fun with these, please consider leaving a like, a comment, a subscription. You can join and get a membership, which has the bonus of giving us money. And also gets you some Zach emotes that you can put in the comments, as well as in the live chat if you come to the streams, and various other things. Plus, it supports us and helps us continue doing this, which we appreciate and enjoy doing. So thank you all, and I'll see you next time on Invitation to Puzzles. Bye for now.